You can't win Wimbledon without making some incredible serves along the way. But with tons of respect to this year's champs, Roger Federer was in a different universe, especially at the All England Club where he won 8 titles. Fed's serve wasn't exactly of the rocket variety, but his ability to locate it was second to none. This episode of Acing It is presented by Stella Artois. Since the ATP began officially counting aces in 1991, only 2 players have served more of them than Roger Federer. And they were both serve bots, 6'10" John Isner and 6'11" Ivo Karlovic. Federer is 6'1", but while he maybe couldn't crank a serve down the tee at 155 miles per hour, he made up for it with possibly the most important quality of any shot in tennis: pinpoint accuracy. When it comes to a serve, accuracy means 2 different things. Are you landing it in the box consistently? And are you placing it where you want? For the former, it's simple math. The average first serve win percentage among the ATP top 50 is 74% right now, and the average for second serves is 52%. The least effective first serve is still more effective than the most effective second serve, but you have to land it. Among the current top 50, Jack Draper has the highest first serve win percentage, but he only lands it 60% of the time. Alexander Zverev's first serve isn't as dominant, but he lands it 73% of the time. Guess who holds serve more? Roger Federer never landed his first serve at a Zverevian level. In fact, early in his career, accuracy was an outright problem. He landed his first serve less than 60% of the time each year from the start of his career in 1998 through 2003, his age 22 season. He also double faulted between 3.5% and 4.5% of the time each year too. Granted, you can make that work if your serve is dominant enough. After all, Pete Sampras, Federer's idol, landed only 59.5% of his first serves from 1991 on, but he still held serve 89% of the time. Federer, however, wasn't holding serve at even an above-average rate until 2002. He won his first Wimbledon title in 2003, briefly making good on the obvious potential so many people saw in his game, but he couldn't quite find the perfect balance between serve risk and serve reward. In 2004, he found it. Tennis is a sport in which tiny percentage improvements make all the difference, and Federer improved all of the percentages. He cut his double fault rate from 3.9% to 2.8%. He went from landing his first serve 60% of the time to 62%. He went from winning 68% of his service points to 70%, which meant he also went from holding serve a good 87% of the time to a great 92% of the time. That meant he went from winning 77% of sets to 84%, and from 83% of matches to an almost unfathomable 93%. Federer didn't just land his serve in the proper box. His biggest strength was the placement. For all of the aces he dished up, he mostly used his serve to establish a tactical goal. His wide serves were wide. They pulled you off the court. If he wanted to serve up the tee, he hit the tee. Nearly every serve had proper depth. He gave even the best returner nothing to pounce on, and however he wanted to start a point was how the point was going to start. And because he was Roger Federer, his mechanics were perfect and forever repeatable too. The toss, unreadable. The stance, perfectly cocked and trophy-like. He might not have had Isner-level velocity, but he was still capable of topping 140 every now and then. He could knock it past you, and once the risks and rewards were ironed out, his serve made him the most absurdly consistent and accurate player men's tennis has ever seen. Both Rafael Nadal and Novak Djokovic eventually topped Federer's 20 Grand Slam titles, but at his peak, no one was ever as reliable as Federer was. He's still the only man in the Open era to win at least 10 ATP titles on hard courts, grass, and clay. He made the quarterfinals of 36 consecutive Grand Slam events, from Wimbledon 2004 to the 2013 French Open. And after the streak ended, he made another 18 quarterfinals. Federer is the only man in the Open era to enjoy a 40-match winning streak in 2 different slams, Wimbledon from 03 to 08 and the US Open from 04 to 09. From the 06 US Open to the 07 French Open, he even won 36 consecutive sets. At one point in the span of 23 slams, he made the finals 20 times. He did it in all 4 slams in the years of 06, 07, and 09. After winning 2 slams in 09, including his first French Open, Federer's dominance of the sport began to wane. That's what happens when you've got a peaking Rafael Nadal and a few years later a peaking Novak Djokovic to deal with. Federer's return game slowly regressed as he approached 30. From 2004 to 06, he broke serve 31% of the time, but that average dipped to 27% from 2007 to 11, then 26% for the rest of the 2010s. His serve, however, grew even more dominant. After holding serve about 90% of the time from 2005 to 11, he took a few more risks on his first serve and was rewarded by averages around 92% in the years that followed. It was the serve that drove his late career renaissance. He didn't drop a single set while winning Wimbledon in 2017, suffering just 4 breaks of serve in 20 sets and allowing Marin Cilic only 1 break point, which he saved in the final.
It's another one for the ageless wonder.
He won the Australian Open in 2017 and 2018 as well, making him the first man to hit 20 slam titles. He became the oldest man at the time to reach number 1 again, too. Federer has still won the most Wimbledon titles, and only Djokovic has won more Australian Opens. Federer still has more career titles and tour wins than anyone not named Jimmy Connors, too. It was at Wimbledon, of course, the most serve-friendly of the Grand Slams, where so many of Federer's most famous wins and serves took place. In his famous changing of the guard win over Pete Sampras in the 4th round in 2001, a 19-year-old Federer matched Sampras with 25 aces, won 82% of his first serve points, and saved 9 of 11 break points, eventually winning in 5 sets.
There will be a new king at Wimbledon. 19-year-old Roger Federer has dethroned Wimbledon's greatest champion.
In the 2003 final against another big server, Aussie Mark Philippoussis, he won his first slam title by booming 21 aces in just 3 sets. Philippoussis didn't create a single break point. In the 2007 final against Rafael Nadal, he won 10 of 13 service points in 2 vital tiebreak wins, then knocked out a trio of aces in his final service game before breaking Nadal to win in the 5th. In the famous 2009 final against Andy Roddick, in a win that allowed him to pass Sampras with 15 career slam titles, he fired off a service winner and an ace to trigger a huge comeback in the 2nd set tiebreaker. For the match, he served up 50 aces, 22 of them in an epic 16-14 final set. He broke poor Roddick only once all match, but it was somehow enough.
Sorry, Pete. I know I tried to hold him off.
Finally, in the last 3 rounds of 2017, he faced Milos Raonic, Tomas Berdych, and Marin Cilic, huge servers all. He fired more aces than all of them and suffered only 1 break of serve in 9 sets. We talk about Federer like an artist. David Foster Wallace's famed Roger Federer as Religious Experience essay in the New York Times in 2006 contains lines like, "Federer's forehand is a great liquid whip," and "The service motion is lithe and uneccentric, distinctive on TV only in a certain eel-like all-body snap at the moment of impact." But while so much of his game broke the scale of aesthetic delight, it was the relentlessness of his serve, so perfectly placed and so delicately balanced between risk and reward, that drove so much of his success.